It feels like I've been hyping up Cade Cunningham on this channel for years now, and you also might be wondering, didn't you just make a video on him not too long ago? Yeah, I did. I made a video on him about a month ago. It's on my channel. You can go check it out if you want. But I've decided to go with a new format this year for draft prospects, giving you more, concrete information, whether that be, height, weight, wingspan, intangibles, where they're from, giving you fun facts like that, as well as, giving somewhat of a breakdown, but not a full breakdown. I just didn't feel like I watched enough tape this year on a lot of prospects to give full breakdowns. I watched a decent amount of tape, and it's, not enough for me to feel comfortable per se. But before we get into today's video, if you're new and you like basketball, I really think you would love this channel. So if you haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos to take elementary film essays and apply them to basketball. I also make videos like this where I cover the draft and high school prospects as well. So if you're into either of those things, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video maybe, so YouTube will recommend it to others. I'm trying to reach 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year, so doing all of those things would be a big help to me. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Cade Cunningham is my number one player in this draft, as he's ranked first on my big board, and is almost a consensus top player in this draft, as many, not only in the independent draft community, but also the mainstream draft community, have him going as the first overall pick, no matter what team will land that pick. He was born on September 25th of 2001. He's from Arlington, Texas. He attended Bowie High School for 2 years, but he's more known for his final 2 years at Montford Academy, where in his junior year, they almost made it to the national title game at Geico's, but they ended up falling short to IMG Academy. And in his senior year, he was the lead man on arguably the greatest high school basketball team of all time. His listed position is point guard. He stands at around 6'8", although I do think it's probably closer to like 6'7", 6'7.5". Colleges do tend to lie about heights, but he probably is 220 pounds, which he is listed at, and he has a reported 7-foot wingspan, which wouldn't shock me at all either. Because of his almost wing-like measurables as a point guard prospect, he is somebody that will have a lot of versatility in multiple lineups, which again is why he's viewed as the consensus number one overall pick, no matter who gets that pick, because of that versatility. As a freshman at Oklahoma State, he averaged 20.1 points per game, 6.2 rebounds per game, 3.5 assists per game, 1.6 steals per game, and 0.8 blocks per game. He shot 43.8% from the field on 14.8 attempts, 40% from 3 on 5.7 attempts, 84.8% from the line on 5.8 attempts, and he had a 57.4 true shooting percentage. He was a consensus first-team All-American, Sporting News Freshman of the Year. It hasn't been announced yet, but he probably would win National Freshman of the Year as well. Big 12 Player of the Year, first-team All-Big 12, and Big 12 Freshman of the Year, making the all-freshman team in the Big 12, which was to be expected, obviously. Cade Cunningham has plenty of strengths, to say the least, as you would expect from a top-ranked prospect. The first one I do want to talk about is his passing vision and his ability as a passer, because of the fact that I feel like it's something that's completely gone underrated for him in college. Now, I will say that his numbers in college aren't great as far as passing goes. The assist numbers aren't great. The assist-to-turnover ratio is downright horrid, to say the least. But really, you have to look at more than just his freshman season, because really, when you're looking at a prospect, I don't think that you can just look at 27 games that they played in their freshman year. You have to look at their high school stuff, you have to look at the EYBL stuff, if they played on FIBA, AAU, things like that. And when you watch his other stuff, which really makes his sample of tape bigger. You know, you see him making insane passes, making reads that not many can make. So I just don't think it's possible that all of a sudden he gets to college and he forgets how to do these things. That's just not really how this works, which makes me believe that it had a lot to do with the situation around him at Oklahoma State, and his tape at Oklahoma State backs it up, because he's still making those same passes he was making at the previous levels, and he's making difficult passes look easy. It's just that guys are finishing plays, guys are smoking layups, you know, turning the ball over. It just wasn't a great supporting cast around Cade Cunningham. And I don't think that looking simply at his numbers is a good indicator. Look at Ben Simmons at LSU. He didn't have great assist numbers either. And then look at what he's becoming in the NBA. I think, like Ben Simmons, Cade's going to be somebody who's going to put up more assists per game in his rookie season than he would have in college. But it's not just about passing with Cade. This is something that I want to talk about next that's way more obvious, is his ability to score the basketball. Cade was a much better scorer than even I thought he would be. I thought he would be somebody that put up around, 15 to 18 points per game. But he put up 20 points per game on a 57 true shooting percentage as a freshman, and really carried the load on offense. He really carried that team because he was really the only offensive creator that could create for himself consistently. And he didn't have great spacing either around him, so he was always dealing with multiple help defenders because he was the only offensive threat. It's very similar to what happened to Anthony Edwards at Georgia, and because he was dealing with multiple help defenders, because he wasn't dealing with great spacing to say the least, the fact that he was a 20 point per game scorer on a pretty decent efficiency is very impressive, which leads me to my next point, which is his shooting improvements, which were very encouraging because of the fact that he was somebody that I wouldn't say was viewed as a bad scorer or a bad shooter, I should say, in high school, but he wasn't a great shooter. It was definitely an area of improvement. But the fact that he's shooting, 40% from 3 and almost 6 attempts this year, again, considering the fact that he really is the only offensive threat on the team, is very encouraging. Now, it could just be a stretch and, it may not be a full indicator, but the fact that when you watch the tape, it doesn't feel like it's just a hot streak. It definitely feels like something that's very sustainable as far as his shooting ability goes. And, as somebody that's projecting to be a guard wing type, you need to be able to shoot threes at least a decent rate, and if he can keep up the rate that he's at, he's going to not only be a decent one, he's going to be a really good 3-point shooter. And then next I want to talk about his positional versatility. Like I mentioned earlier, because he's 6'8", 220 pounds, which are really ideal measurements that you look for in a power forward prospect at this age. And given how skilled he is, he can play multiple positions: point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward. They did play him some small ball forward at Oklahoma State. He just has a lot of positional versatility because of his rare and unique combination of size and skill. But this is a thing that I really believe is his biggest asset, and that's his maturity and leadership skills. For a guy that's only 19, he has great leadership qualities. I know the teammates around him weren't great, but the fact that he was willing to trust them is a great sign. And he also knew when he needed to take over as well, which is very good to have, especially at this young of an age, knowing when to pass and knowing when to score. It's something he kind of struggled with early on in the season. He was a bit passive, but as time went on, he started to realize that I can get my teammates involved when I can, but in order for this team to win and, become a top 15 team in the country, become a 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, I need to score the basketball. And he understood that perfectly. And it's why, like I mentioned, they were a 4 seed in the tournament and a top 15 ranking by the end of the year. So that's something you look for not only in young players that you look to build around, but just superstars in general. He just has a feel for the game that can't be taught either. He's somebody that knows how to manipulate defenses, somebody that knows where to find the open man and how to throw a pass to get that man open. So he just has that feel for the game that is just rare to find in somebody this young. And that is something that is special. And he has a great motor on both ends of the floor. You know, he's somebody, you know, I'll talk about in the weaknesses, does have some limitations as far as his quickness, but he does give effort on both ends of the floor, and that's something you look for in a leader. You want your leader to be somebody that, you know, not only leads by voice, but also leads by example by putting effort in on both ends of the floor, and that's something that Cade has, and that's something that will be very valuable. Now, he isn't perfect, however, and he does have weaknesses. Like I mentioned earlier, when it comes to his weaknesses, he isn't a great lateral mover. He's not a bad one, but I don't think he has great level quickness to the point where you could put him on point guards that are quick first time. He will have trouble against them. I do think that because of his physical tools and basketball IQ, he will more than hold his own if he's put on a quick guard, but it's not something I would do full time. I definitely think he projects as somebody that defends, you know, 2s and 3s more than he defends, you know, point guards necessarily. And also he does need to tighten up the handle, maybe even add some moves to his repertoire. This is a swing skill for him. You know, I thankfully think that if he improves his handle and adds moves to his game, I think that it will heighten his chances of being able to be a point guard almost full time. But if not, I definitely think that he still will be good, but he definitely will be more of a point forward than a guy that can play full-time point. You know, it doesn't really matter too much in the grand scheme of things because it's really debating about his ceiling being, you know, borderline All-NBA and superstar, but I do think that it is a swing skill that needs to be brought up because he does need to tighten up the handle a bit. And something else I want to bring up is his decision making as a passer, even though I have said that because of the teammates around him not being great at Oklahoma State, it's why his assist numbers weren't great, but the turnover numbers were still high regardless, and there were times that he tried to force a pass that he would be capable of, but it just probably wasn't the right pass to make, which again is encouraging because it's not like he isn't capable of making those passes. It's just that he forces those passes a bit too much at times. Again, I definitely think that these weaknesses aren't hindering his game enough to make me say that he won't reach close to his 100 percentile outcome, but he will need to improve on these things if he does want to reach his 100 percentile outcome. Because if he doesn't, it's going to be like an 85 percentile outcome, but if he does, I definitely think he can his 100 percentile outcome, you know, which is really just telling about him as a prospect. I mean, how safe he is if the weaknesses aren't hindering his game that much. Overall, my thoughts on Cade Cunningham are that he's a player that fits the modern NBA really well. He really fits what teams look for in guard wing creators. He's somebody that can create in the pick and roll as a passer and a scorer. He's somebody that has wing-like measurables but guard-like skills that give him insane positional versatility. He's somebody that has all the right intangibles you look for in franchise players as far as leadership, motor, and effort on both ends of the floor, and trusting his teammates as well, and also knowing when to take over games. He's somebody that I think you could build around as far as contenders go if he reaches his 100 percentile outcome, because he's somebody that if he reaches 100 percentile outcome and he can fix his very few weaknesses, you know, he's somebody that's going to be hard to stop because there's really no hole in his game, and he's somebody that could be a superstar. And I'm not saying he will reach his 100 percentile outcome. I'm not saying that he won't, because only time will tell. But I am encouraged by him potentially reaching that 100 percentile outcome because of the fact that he learned how to play the hardest position in the sport of basketball in 2 years. He went from like a small forward type during his first 2 years at Bowie High School all of a sudden, he's playing point guard at Montverde Academy, and he quickly becomes by far the best point guard in his class and in the country in high school. That quickly, learning the hardest position, you just can't teach the work ethic it takes to do something like that. And even then, like, you look at his improvements from high school to college, where he improved his shooting, he improved his scoring, he, I believe, improved his ability to know when to take over games or not. And you look at that, and that just really leads me to believe that his work ethic is really high. And I think that he's aware of his weaknesses, and I think he's going to work on them. So that's why I believe that there's a good chance he does reach his 100% outcome. Again, I'm not saying that he will, and, you know, I'm not saying that he won't. I'm not really saying or predicting anything. I'm just saying that the work ethic and the trends that he's made, you know, from his sophomore year to junior year of high school and going from high school to college, like, those trends that he's made an improvement are very encouraging. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. Try to get this video to 100 likes so YouTube will recommend it to others. And let me know down in the comment section below, what do you think about Cade Cunningham? What do you think about his game? How good do you think it could be? Like, what do you think a team would fit him best? Do you think that he's the number one guy? If not, who is your number one guy? I would love to hear all that stuff in the comment section below. I know this is a prospect I've made multiple videos on already, and I know even recently I made a video, but I just wanted to reformat my draft stuff for this year, give you, you know, enough information, and then kind of give you my thoughts without giving a breakdown, because I just didn't feel like I had the necessary amount of film study to give a full breakdown, but I had enough to give my thoughts on each prospect, and it saved time with clipping and stuff as well. But, you know, that's it. Again, thank you for watching, I guess, and yeah, have a nice day, you guys.